So we're here with this weanling filly, Bunny. She is now about 6.5 months old. She's still a bit cautious at times, but she's really quieted down from when we first got her. And this will be part of our pre-start series, where we go over things that we do, not just to make the horse more pleasant to be around, but also to prepare them to be ridden. And what this is going to be is a substitute for a lot of other groundwork and lunging and so forth that more closely replicates what happens when you're steering your horse from their back. To explain, let's consider the typical pattern of lunging. The horse tends to thunder around in a mindless circle. At best, they go brain dead. At worst, they're agitated. A lot of times they've got their hip to the outside, their shoulders tilted in. They step into a lope and it's on the wrong hind lead habitually, and you're not really doing anything to teach them to steer. You're just teaching them not to pull away. And people will want to get them more arced, so they peck at them. And the horse will get like this, but it's not a nice soft feel. Instead, what I've taken to doing, and this is a fairly new part of the program, such as it is, I've started taking these things and moving them around in more of a freestyle. And I like to have, just in case I need it, a full-size lunge whip. You'll notice I'm using a webbing halter, and that's to set everybody free from the idea that there is something magic about rope halters. I like rope halters, they're fine. But this filly's been living in the field in this web halter with a breakaway rig. It's safe for her, she's used to it. Why not school her in it? I am a big believer in the Arthur Ashe saying, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. So if what you have is a nylon web halter, and where you are is in your barnyard and you've got enough room, you don't need a round pen, and then get busy doing what you can, but give it some thought. Don't just make a mindless lunging circle. So if you've been paying attention, this is far from standard lunging of any description. Instead, I'm sending her along, and she's separated from her friend, which is a necessary part of life. But every time she gets looking toward the barn, she's a little more motivated. So I'm gonna make sure I can keep her off me. That's one reason for the stick. So I may walk back toward her hip and steer her in. Steer her in. And then she gets a release. When she steers in, instead of being in that circle, always having pressure on her, she's steering. She's steering. I'm gonna walk back here, she's steering. I'm gonna move her up along there, she's steering. I'm gonna bring her back across herself a bit, she's steering. I don't want her to stall, and I want her to keep moving. I'd like her to stay off me. I'm gonna let her walk straight for a while. She's balanced, that's okay, she can walk straight. I'll go with her. You'll notice I'm keeping her on an angle that will let me not get jerked off my feet when she does things like that. The wrong angle and you're gonna get pulled over or tear your shoulder out of the socket. But you can see though, she made a little move, a little gunfire here to complicate things. If she makes a little move like that, I'm in a position where I'm not getting too much pressure. That time she got the drop on me a little bit, not so bad. So I'm not gonna let her do that persistently. I'm just gonna steer her And she can do what she thinks she needs to do, but she just needs to steer. She just needs to steer. And as she gets more balanced and more relaxed, she'll stop acting so foolish. It's either slacking the line, I'm letting her dictate the speed a bit. Go forward, go forward, go forward. Now let's bend you back around. Let's bend you back around. Let's keep off of me. Let's keep off of me. You could almost say that I'm walking a circle behind her, or I'm walking to her hip a bit to help her steer around. She's had this done 2 times before, but the only other time I did it both ways was the very first time. So this is her second time to be worked going to the right. Yesterday we worked her to the left. Actually made a video of that because she was a little greener. But we had some technical difficulties and we lost that footage. Now here is another little interesting thing. Watch me walk in, bring her to me. Walk in, bring her to me. Walk in, keep steering her. And you know how we look for a yield to hindquarter? That's the beginning of it. And I know that typically a lot of clinicians will whack them on the ass, move their hip over, move their hip over. Well, what about if you went a little slower and you use motion to help yourself, and instead of whacking on them and doing it from a standstill, start the process with some motion. That's not a perfect yield, but it's soft and it's gonna be good. See if I just walked around here real tight. So if she would step forward a little, there she's gonna step across. There she's gonna step across. So she's getting that down. Now, here's the interesting thing. I've been saying, let's not lunge these things. Let's not bring them around us in a circle. But if you've been working on steering her, and you then ask her to go around you in a circle, she's gonna get the idea pretty quickly. And if it sounds like a war here, this is the last day of deer season in Pennsylvania, and there's a whole set of people who feel compelled to see if they can kill the last deer in our Commonwealth, or if they can't get a deer, maybe they could shoot a horse. So you stay out of the woods and you listen to the gunfire and you hide your head. So that's the beginning if you wanted to have her, quote, lunge to going around. But instead of just lunging by being restricted, she's lunging by being steered. Could you do that at a trot, maybe? So I'm not going to peck at her, I'm just going to steer her. So pretty quick, if where you steer her happens to be around in a circle, you're probably going to be okay. So give that a little thought. See if maybe you could take your horse, and this doesn't have to be on a weanling or a yearling. You could do this on an older horse that needs to soften up a bit, and it would not be a bad thing to do.